I think it really goes back to identity again, not knowing who you are. It's like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yes.
Right. So I fell for it.
Hi, everyone. This is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion. Today, I have the lovely Ashley Nadine in the building. I had the opportunity of seeing Miss Ashley in Downey at a women's empowerment event. And so, of course, me being the person I am, I had to Google her. And I found her on Instagram, and she has a powerful story. So as I'm introducing Miss Ashley, she's a human trafficking survivor, owner of Ashley Nadine Bridal. And she's just an entrepreneur and a positive woman. And that's why I have her on Purpose and Passion, because I'm about educating, empowering, inspiring, and teaching awareness to my viewers about my guest stories. So thank you, Ashley, for just coming here to the city of Inglewood.
I love it. This is, my fiance calls it his stomping grounds. But
Yes.
for me, it's like, I grew up in Lancaster, Palmdale. So, I didn't grow up in the best neighborhood. I grew up on the east side of Palmdale, which is where I was actually recruited by pimps. But this is like beautiful out here. Like the people, your heart. I gotta say, I gotta stop and honor you for your heart for the city.
I appreciate it.
And you're doing this amazing podcast and all this work, but you truly do have a beautiful heart for the city. So I'm honored to be here with you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yes.
So with our viewers, take us down memory lane, like where your parents are born, where were you born and raised? How was your childhood?
Absolutely. So I am actually, my father is Mexican, full Mexican. And my mom is, oh my gosh, a mix. She's German, she's Irish, she's French, and actually some Jewish too, which we just found out. My grandmother was telling us. But I grew up in Palmdale, Lancaster, born in San Diego. And I actually had a really beautiful upbringing. Like my parents to this day, they're still together.
Oh, that's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
Yes.
It's a blessing to see the dynamic of somebody who has their marriage has been tested and tried, and they're still together, still going strong. I'm very, very grateful for that. So, I grew up in my dad was such a hard worker. He was the bread and butter, very old school. My mom, she would stay home with us, make us the dinner, cook for us and everything. And then she would, take some part-time jobs here and there. But for the most part, I had a very traditional upbringing, very traditional, hardworking father and mother that stayed home. And that's, yeah.
So when you were in high school, did you ever get bullied, or were you popular? Like how was growing up, for you? Like when I was in elementary, I got bullied, but didn't really comprehend what bullying was back then, right? Until I got beat up, and then I had to try to fight back.
There you go. Yeah.
And then from there, life happened. We got into like a little party crew. Well, not technically a party crew, it was kind of like a little tagging crew kind of posse, right? In the 80s, it was called posses. And we were called LCD, Little Crazy Devils. And then we got to junior high, and then we became La Calle 18.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And then from high school, game over. Everything just went all far left.
Yeah.
So, how was your upbringing and, in elementary, middle school and high school?
That's a great question. I've actually never been asked that question, which is so vital, right? And important to how everything happened. Well, junior high, I was more bullied. I was more, there was a lot of mean girl crews that they just were they were so mean. Girls were so mean back then. And so I would try to find my identity. Like I wanted to be a chola, then I wanted to be a skater, then I didn't know where to fit in, but I just knew that they didn't like me, And then what happened was I started to grow more in myself, and I started to find that I was a good cheerleader. I was a good dancer. I got into sports. And so when I got into high school, everything shifted. So the girls that were bullying me all of a sudden wanted to be my friend because I had the influence now.
Yes.
And so it was a different dynamic going from, almost being the ugly duckling kind of so to speak, to now I'm in high school, and now I'm like, okay, I'm in this sport, I'm running things, I'm learning about leadership. I started my own dance team. Like people were voting for me for prom queen. I was on prom court.
That's officially
At that point I'm like, okay, I made it, right? But truth being that, yeah, I grew more of a sense of like who I was, and stuff like that. So it's very ironic that you're asking me this question, because when that happened to me, I when I was recruited by a pimp, it was in high school. It was during that time, and once again, looking for love, looking to fit in, looking for that acceptance.
Was the pimp like this fine guy that was just so attractive?
He was really good looking, and he drove a BMW. And what happened was, actually, I was a good student, right? Cheerleader, everything. And I had asked my mom to spend the night over a friend's house.
Yes.
And when I spent the night over her house, her mom, she slept upstairs.
Yes.
So my friend's room was downstairs. So it was very easy for us when she was like, hey, girl, there's this house party around the corner. So, we're like, okay. So, and, to be honest with you, I wasn't a bad kid. So I had that gut feeling. Like now I say, if you have a gut feeling, it's a God feeling, right? Like I wish I would have listened, or somebody would have explained to me, hey, when you get those feelings, like I tell these young girls, if your alert's going up, to listen to that, your womanly senses. And so anyways, go to this house party she convinces me to go to, and the whole night I had a really weird feeling, which is like, I remember feeling like, man, I don't want to, like, I don't know, I felt like a gut feeling, but as we got there, it was so weird. Like I look back on it and I think, did she set me up? Like I still don't know to this day. But I'm not going to say I don't question it.
Yes.
Because when I got there, she immediately left me alone. Like she took off with some older gentlemen upstairs at the house party. So when I was at the house party, I was alone. And again, like, I'm like, what, I wasn't used to going out to the house parties. I wasn't used to sneaking out. I was a good student, cheerleader, dance, so that was very foreign to me. So I felt alone at this party, and that's when I was approached by a pimp at the party. At the time, I didn't know he was a pimp. I just thought he was, a guy there that was interested in me.
Wow. So how old was he, and how old were you?
Yes. So I was about 14, 15, around that area. And I always say 14, but only, I want to say it was close to 15. Like when I time frames are hard for me with all the trauma, like, to be honest with you. But he was older than I was. He was at least 3 to 4 years older than I was. And now that I know a little more of the story too, he was also being groomed by older gentlemen. Yes. So, I mean, I'm talking like grown men, like, in their 40s, 50s that have been in the game. They call it, in the pimping the game and just the game for a long time. So he was actually being groomed himself,
Wow. So then what happened that night, at the party, like, once you met him, did you guys go on a date? How did he get to you?
Yeah, the grooming process. Exactly. This is a very important. So it started off with just, you're so beautiful. Oh, I love your eyes. Oh, I love your hair. Oh, it was very, obviously there was an agenda behind, what he was doing, but I'm a young girl, so I wanted to believe him. Plus, my parents came from a great marriage where they met at 15. They're obviously still together, so for me, it was like I was easy pickings, because he was telling me, laying it on thick, like he was telling me everything a young girl would want to hear. I'm gonna buy you a house, like you're the one, and one time he actually he would take me to this one house in Hollywood, the Hollywood Hills, the same house. And he would go and we would drive up there and he would point to it and he'd be like, this is going to be ours one day.
Wow.
And so I would just be like, I was so naive and I was, I believed him. And so that same day, when one of the days we drove up to the hills and he points to the house and then we drive down, And we get to a park,
Mm-hmm.
and he tells me, get out the car. And I'm like, okay, I'm thinking he's gonna propose.
Yeah.
I was thinking, this is the one, this is it for me. Um, but that didn't happen. Actually, that's the day that he slapped me across the face, and he told me, "You're gonna be working for me now."
Oh
Hmm.
my.
Yeah.
So in in your spirit,
Hmm.
how did you feel? Did you feel scared, or did you feel that you knew you had to listen today, but after today you're done kind of mentality? Like how did you feel?
Right. No. So there were at that point there was SUVs too that had pulled up into the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, I was extremely like frightened. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, to the point where I was like, dude, what is going on? I knew what was going on. I mean, I knew it
Yes.
was a situation, but it was like, you know, I mean, what do you do at this point? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, I he had already had me so wrapped around his finger, and everybody would say like, Ashley, why didn't you just leave? Or, but it's like when you're so manipulated and so broken down and
And
so
young.
and young,
Young mentality,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes, we're looking for love in all the wrong places, but don't really understand
Mm-hmm.
because we're teenagers, like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I always tell people, like, a lot of people, even in abusive relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
People, I'm not laughing of the situation, but I'm laughing at me because I'm all like, somebody told me, well, how would you do it? I said, no, you don't want to ask me,
Me, yeah.
because I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in that kind of situation. So I told myself, no man will
Mm-hmm.
ever put their hands on me.
Right.
I will go to prison.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So because of, you know, what I saw, the gang life, I was never going to be the victim. I
Mm-hmm.
would be the
Victimizer,
victimizer.
right?
Yes, it's
Wow.
so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always tell people, like, you cannot judge somebody based on how they react or what they did, because not everybody is like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I've never, like, when people, share with me, like, oh, he's beating me. Okay, well, you can either leave,
Mm-hmm.
go to church for counseling, try to figure it out if you don't want to call the police. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have a decision, but really deep inside, what is your decision?
Right. That's good. Yeah.
And I never wanted to tell my friend, like,
Mm-hmm.
you're weak, you're this and that, because I didn't want to push her away.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to acknowledge that she trusted me,
Right.
and I wanted to be there for her.
That's good. Yeah.
So once all that situation happened, was that the first day that you became?
Yeah, so basically what happened after that is I was forced into the strip clubs, and that's when I was coerced and forced to basically give up my money, like I was dancing on Sunset Boulevard actually.
Yeah.
So was at the Body Shop.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting that there's a song out there about this right now. But the Body Shop was a strip club that I was dancing at, and then my money was being controlled. I was living with two pimps at the time, and there was like they did parties and things like that, and I won't go into details
Yes,
about
of
any of
course
that,
not.
but you know, you can imagine that any young girl at this age shouldn't even be
In the environment.
yeah, in that
Mhm.
environment. And so um it was a really, really hard time in my life because I just don't understand sometimes, like, why like I did stay. Like I do wonder, but it was like I was so deeply I guess hated myself. Like they had broke me down so much that I didn't really know my worth. Like
Yes.
I think it really goes back to identity again,
Mhm.
not knowing who you are. It's like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything,
Yes.
right? So I fell for it. I fell for a lie. I fell for manipulation. I fell for control. I fell for it all.
Did your parents go looking for
Oh
you,
my
or
gosh.
how did that work out? Because you have two parents, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. To this day, I have so much guilt and shame that I carry for the things that I've put them through. I'm in a lot of recovery and
Mhm.
things like that, and I'm still wanting to make my amends step to
Yes, yes,
them.
yes.
And I haven't done it because it's so hard for me to face that. But
Mm.
I put them through I mean, they tried to like lock me in the room. They've tried to, do everything, yell, scream, let me know, love on me. I mean, they've tried everything. I was so out of control because they had me so manipulated. But also there was some photos that they took, some blackmailing photos. And so that was always in the back of my mind. I was always so afraid of that because I did not like. I was like, oh my gosh, they would tell me they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, like So there was a lot of that manipulation and control with those photos.
Wow.
And there's a whole book of them. A whole book of. I remember seeing it, and there was just tons of minors in there, tons and tons. So many girls in there, in that book.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. So, how did you leave that lifestyle? What happened to make that change? Because that's a big change,
Huge.
Yeah, definitely. Not even big, huge,
Mm-hmm.
a huge change. So, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
It had to be something dramatic
Yes.
for you to say, okay, this is it.
Yes. Yes. So I ended up getting pregnant. Okay, with a little girl, and I knew at this moment like that I had to make a decision because they were telling me you need to get rid of this baby, like there's no way you can keep it, you got to work, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to confess this to somebody safe.
Yes.
I'm going to confess this to somebody. And I remember this girl, Amanda, in my high school, who was so loving and never judgmental. Never judgmental. She was a very safe person.
Yeah, safe place.
Safe place to confess. And so I snuck out one day and away from the house, and I met up with her. It was real quick. It was a quick lunch that we had, and I just told her the whole truth. Yeah. I told her the whole truth, what was happening. I told her that I was pregnant. I told her I wanted to get out of this lifestyle. Yes. And she started to share Christ, Jesus Christ, and the love of Christ with me. Yes. Never heard about Jesus ever. Wow. Never. And you're talking, I'm like, at this point, I'm what, 17, 18? Yes. So she gives me this verse, and she says, if God provides for the birds of the air, how much more will your Heavenly Father provide for you? She was like, if you decide to keep your baby and to leave this life, she's like, God will provide and He'll protect.
Yes.
She told me those two things. He will provide for you and He will protect you. And because I had never heard about faith or God or anything like that, I wasn't really like, I remember it, like I kind of almost cussed her out. Like I was like, why are you coming at me with your religion, And
because it was the defense
mode. It was
mode.
defense mode.
But in reality, she was blessing you.
Right.
She was blessing you. Because I'm a woman of faith.
Yes.
I mean, like I've had struggles with God because I was molested as a child. So I was mad at God. I was like, you allowed my step-grandfather to play doctor with me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I held that in a lot. You know what I mean? Like anger. But then when I almost got killed in 97, it was like a rude awakening. I remember when I got on my knees and I cried and I told God, I said, you abandoned me as a child. But if you abandon me in here, I'm going to prison for murder, or I'm going to get killed for murdering somebody. So you need to show yourself physically or spiritually, because you're going to lose me.
Right.
And he showed himself spiritually.
Yes.
And then that's when I knew, okay, he's real. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But then as I got older, I tell people all the time, like somebody said, their child committed suicide. And somebody stated something to her, to the mother, saying that it's God's fault. I said, people forget the verse that the devil come to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah.
But God comes to bring you life. So God has nothing to do with what had happened.
Right.
But He allows it to happen. So I don't look at it like it happened to me, but it happened for me.
I love that.
So then I'm able to help the other girls
Mm-hmm.
in the nonprofit sector. I've been working in the nonprofit sector since 1999.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that story that I was so embarrassed about, now I'm able to share with these other girls that have been raped or molested through their family members as well as strangers.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when you share your testimony,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a, you were kind of like agitated, but all that was the devil tricking your brain
That's
to
right.
be upset.
That's right.
But in
Yeah.
reality, God was using your friend
Yeah.
to
Just-
give you hope and
Yes.
faith.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
so what happened after that?
So then, no, so good. Yeah, similar situation for me. So that night that she had just told me about Jesus, I get into the car, and at the time, the song "Jesus Walks" by Kanye West was really popular.
Yes.
And so I get into the car, and there's like Jesus, and I'm like, "You're kidding me." I'm like, "This is weird." So I started thinking like, this is really weird. Like she just tells me about Jesus, then I get in the car, and then there's a song about Jesus, and so my eyes and my ears were more open to listening now, because I was like, okay, wait a minute. And so he's like, I'm trying to talk to God, but I'm afraid because we haven't spoken so long, and so it's starting to kind of minister to me. It's starting to kind of hit my soul and my spirit, you know. And I'm like, man, and this is heading up to work at the strip club, so I'm on my way to work that night. And God's already working. He's already watering the seed that she had just planted.
Yes.
So that night I get to work, and I'm putting on my lingerie, getting ready to go down to work the floor, you know. And I go to take one look in the mirror, like last look, to kind of see if I'm like, oh, look okay.
Yeah.
And I'm putting my garter belt on, and I go and I go like this, and I look in the mirror, and right in the mirror, I feel and I see God. Like it was a spirit, but it was such a presence. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
God is right here in the back of the strip club dressing room right now. And I wasn't high, I wasn't drunk, I wasn't intoxicated. I was completely sober. I mean, and I felt the love of God and the holiness of God and the fear of God all in one. It was so, I can't even explain. It was so spiritual that I can't even naturally, I'm trying to explain everything in one moment, that it was like, you know, when people say, well, my life flashed before my eyes. It's like, it was like that moment. It was like, I felt like just like so joyful, and at the same time so in fear, and it was so amazing and so sacred and holy, that I just felt conviction. I was like, I can't be in here. I can't be in here. I was like, oh my gosh, God is chasing me. God is here. Like it scared me.
Conviction is a very powerful word.
I was convicted. I could not sit there in that strip club. It was like when they say like you go from dark to light. Like I literally, my eyes were open that I was in darkness. My eyes were open that I could see my sin. I could see I could see it all.
Yes.
And I had to get out of there. I had to get out. So I tell my friend that I had drove with, and she goes, girl, what's wrong with you? I'm like, no, God is in here. Like I'm telling her, she's like tripping out. Yeah, she's like, what do you want?
You want PCP?
Like, yeah. I'm like, no, girl, I'm telling you, God is here. God is here. He's chasing me. So I get home, and I'm like tripped out. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, okay, this is like, I'm like looking up at the sky, you know, and I look over, and there's a book on my dresser. And I'm telling you, Raina, I don't know how it got there.
God.
Right? But to this day, I'm like, how did this book even get into my house? Because it was called God's Promises for Women.
Yes.
So I'm like, wait a sec. Like every single thing, God was just right there, you know? So I'm like, okay. And I took a step of faith, and I said, all right, I'm gonna open up this book. I was like, God, you know, you're chasing me. I feel you're looking for me. So I opened it up, and that was the first time I had ever read a scripture.
Wow.
And it said, ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find. And knock and I will open up the door. And so right there in my room, no choir, no preacher, nut, just me and God. And I said, God, if you are real, then I need you to show me. And that's when I felt the Holy Spirit and the love of God come into my, and I'm telling you, I had a conversion. I had a spiritual encounter. felt it. I know it to
Yes.
this day. That was when I was 19, pregnant with my daughter. And I, to this day, am still forever changed from that one moment.
Yes.
Like,
It's
yes,
what we call it as a spiritual awakening.
it is. It was an awakening.
Definitely a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual awakening. So
Mm-hmm.
then once you left, like how did that happen? Like did you just like up and leave? Because in my brain I would have been like, yeah, I would have left without telling nobody and just disappeared, you know?
You mean from the strip club?
Yeah, from that lifestyle, you
Oh yeah,
know?
yeah. So no, this is where it gets even deeper
Oh
because
wow.
when my friend said God will provide and protect, so within weeks, the trafficking ring that was going on got busted by the FBI.
Oh wow.
The whole thing, like all of a sudden, what happened was is one of there was a minor that was, I think she was like 13, 14, but they broke her body in like they said 12 different bones or something.
Oh
Hmm.
my Lord.
But that opened up an investigation
Yes.
because
Wow.
she's a minor, so they had to investigate it more deeply. So that led them to everything that was going on. And so it was like God was already working behind the scenes on my behalf
Yes.
and all those other girls that were involved. And yeah, so it was like
Wow.
God had me covered,
Yes.
completely covered.
He was already like preparing.
Uh
Like
huh.
he like wow.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
he knew that this was about to go down and
Yes.
freedom
Yes.
was going to happen.
Yes.
So from there, you're a mother.
Mm-hmm.
So did you, go back home? Did you talk to your parents? Like what happened after that?
Yes, so I did end up keeping my daughter. I
Which
did
is
not
a
abort her.
blessing. Which
Yes,
is a
yes,
blessing.
my beautiful Layla. We just celebrated her 17th birthday, so she's 17 now.
Oh, what a
Yes,
blessing.
yes. She is my why. She is my, the reason I think God blessed me with her was to calm me and settle me and
Mm-hmm.
teach me.
Yes.
But I did for a period of time move back home with my
Mm-hmm.
family. But then I still needed like a fresh start.
Yes.
So I ended up moving to Las Vegas, is what I
Okay.
did. Yeah. So I spent the majority of her childhood away from all of that. I just, and God moved a lot out there in
Yeah.
Sin City, they call it, but
Yes.
there was
Yes. Of
God
course.
City
I
for
hear
sure.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it was humbling. I had to get a car wash job, I was working at a car wash, going from making all that money to
Yeah.
working. And that's the thing, people think like, oh, if I give my life to God, it's going to just be easy. No, no, no,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no.
no.
You got to count the cost,
Yeah.
but the real true freedom and the real reward is in the character,
Yes.
is in the heart, is in the peace, is in the joy, is in everything, knowing that God has your back, that
Yes.
God loves you. Because in that old life, like, without God's presence, it's like you don't even realize how dark and deep you can go.
Mm-hmm.
You can go so deep into darkness.
Yes.
And it's like without his presence, it's so crazy to see his presence now tangible. It's like I can pray about this. I know he's gonna answer. You know what
Yes.
I mean? It might not be on my timing,
Yeah, but
but
it'll
I
be on
know it
his
is on
timing. Yes.
But the fact that you have an advocate and you know that God has your best interest at heart,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what people do, people are gonna betray you,
Yes.
people are gonna let you down, they're gonna disappoint you. We're human,
Yeah, but not him.
but not him.
Wow. So, so wow, that's a deep story. I'm still thinking about the 13-year-old. Like, wow, it took that, the poor child to go through whatever she went through in order for this to be exposed. So, you become a mother, you move to Las Vegas. How did you become an owner of Ashley Nadine Bridal? Like,
Yeah.
because obviously, you had to bust your butt off to work
Oh
a
yeah.
regular job, right? Be a mom.
Right.
But at the same time, I know that God always instill a vision for us, right?
Right.
Without vision, without purpose, we were there's nothing there, right?
Right.
We perish. And so obviously you had this vision. So where did that vision come from?
Yeah, so I basically was broke, busted, and disgusted, at
Hmm.
this point. So I went from living that fast life, having buying whatever I wanted, driving a nice car, being around all the celebrities, mansions, all of that stuff too, working at the car wash, you know.
Yes.
But it is amazing because I just had such a heart like you, like to help
Mm-hmm.
other women be aware that
Yes.
this can happen. And so I started a nonprofit organization. Uh-huh.
Awesome.
I started a
Yes.
nonprofit called Limitless, and I would actually have fashion shows
Mm-hmm.
because I've always loved fashion. I've
Yes.
always been into fashion. I actually worked with America's Next Top Model. I've done a lot. Like I've just always loved fashion. Anyways, so I would have fashion shows, and I would have people in the industry, girls,
Mm-hmm.
women in the industry that were prostitutes, models, and all this stuff.
Yes.
Um, come dancers and
Mm-hmm.
come and be my models in the show.
Yes.
And then in between, I would have women share their testimonies of how they got out.
Yes.
So it was a really interesting ministry dynamic where it was like, you know, we added fashion in there,
Yes.
very just outside of the box, you know, but God had set that up. So I had to find sponsors
Mm-hmm.
for my conference.
Yes.
And I remember seeing this cute shop. It was so cute. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want those dresses in my
Yes. Fashion
my
show.
fashion show for my nonprofit, you know, and I want the girls to feel beautiful." And I was so excited that they were just going to even get to wear the dresses because
Yes.
some of them never even been married. No, and that's their dream.
Ah, yes,
That's their
yes,
dream, is to
yes.
be
To be a
married,
wife.
to be a wife,
Mm-hmm.
and they want it so bad, but because of the control and everything and the lifestyle, they haven't had a chance.
Yes.
So I was so happy to put them in wedding dresses, like because the shop was a bridal
Yes.
boutique. So I met up with this lady, cute little lady named Maria. She was
Mm-hmm.
the cutest, adorable thing, and I just really genuinely wanted to help her. Like she didn't have a website, she didn't.
Yeah.
She was old school, you know. She had been in the
Yes.
business since '83, before I was born.
Oh,
So
wow.
she was, you know, she was old school. She thought people, they're gonna walk in your shop. It's like they won't
Yeah,
find
like
you.
back in the
Yeah,
days.
back in the day, that was her way
Go to
of
HP and
marketing.
get a quinceañera dress.
So long story short, I asked her to be a part of my conference, and I thought it would be great exposure for her, you know, and also the girls, and you know, and
Yeah.
she said yes. And I'm telling you, Raina, I was so happy
Oh,
that the dresses were even a part of it.
that's a blessing.
Right.
Yeah.
But God is so good that he does exceedingly abundantly more.
Yes.
So the conference goes amazing. The commissioner's out from Newport Beach comes out. I mean, it was the town that we got billboards donated, $40,000 worth of billboards donated.
Wow.
I mean, it was a hit, right? People in the city came. My fiance helped host it. It was amazing. And afterwards, she calls me a week after,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, Mija, you know, she's like, I'm getting ready to retire. She's like, my mom is sick, and she goes, my daughter is not into fashion, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, and I don't know anybody else to leave my legacy to.
Oh,
Right? Like
wow.
God is like setting up
Yeah.
my whole life. Hello.
Yes.
And I was like sitting there, like my eyes were like wide open, like, wait, what? And she was like, would you want to, you know, buy my business for me?
Wow.
It was running. I mean, it was like,
Yes.
I mean, of course, like just even the thought of like getting this it was handed to me.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
was
yeah,
handed
yeah.
to me. Um, my parents, oh my God, bless them, were my investors.
Oh, what a
They
blessing.
backed me up.
Because they
After
want to see
every,
you
they
win.
wanted to see me, yeah.
They just wanted to see you win.
Yes.
And they have that agape love for you.
Mm,
They love you unconditional.
amen.
And God is sharing that with me right now to tell you that. And I'm
Thank
going to talk to you after.
Okay.
Because it's more deeper than
Okay,
that.
okay.
Because I don't want you crying and messing up that beautiful
Yeah,
makeup.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's agape love.
Okay.
So I see that. I already knew God was like
Ooh.
agape love.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for
Yes,
that. I've
you're
been
welcome.
really struggling with that. So yes, and so anyways, that ended up happening. I bought the business from her, and you know, I knew that the Lord was calling me away from that town
Yes.
again. It was just for a season, not, you
Mhm.
know, it was a pit
Yeah.
stop on my way to the
Right, season,
destination.
Right?
But my heart is very connected to the Antelope Valley, Lancaster, Palmdale. But I am now located in Orange County,
Nice.
in Brea.
Yeah, Brea, California.
Yes,
Yes. I love Brea, California. I like the mall there, the
Oh,
Nordstroms.
it's amazing. Yes, honey. Like, I'm not gonna get shot when I walk outside.
Yes, you're safe.
Praise the Lord. Yeah, my daughter goes to a safe school, nice school, but it is. I truly mean this. Like, there's days that I just look out the window and I'm like, wow, God, thank you for this neighborhood.
Yes.
Because when you go through trauma and you go through experiences like that, the appreciation of a good neighborhood, a safe neighborhood,
is a blessing.
Is a blessing.
It really is.
It really is. Yeah.
It really is. Oh my God, that's amazing. So now you have this bridal shop. It's yours. You know what's so powerful is that she said legacy, where she could have left it to a family member, right, to continue the legacy. But God spoke to her heart. And so having somebody's legacy is truly a blessing. It really is. Because that means that they value you. They know that you're going to take it to the next level. They know that when they decide to cross over, that their work is still working. You know what I mean? That it's an imprint of them still through your business.
Right.
And that is like a beautiful thing. And so what do you plan to do in 2023? Do you have any vision goals that you want to share with the viewers?
Absolutely. Well, my business is doing amazing. I just got a huge partnership deal with the Mission Inn in Riverside. They've made me their preferred wedding dress vendor.
Yes.
That's a big win. Obviously I've had some struggles through COVID, as we all have, but I'm grateful to still be in business. But God is actually really opening doors to ministry. There's been, I'm telling you, it's been back-to-back events where people are like, can you come minister? Can you come share your story? And I'm seeing God do a new thing, and of course my shop is still going to be, it's the way that God has provided. But my heart is really to bring this message of hope and faith to the world.
And it's important. It's important.
Yes.
Because we are his legacy.
That's right. Oh, that's good.
Man, we're definitely his legacy.
So good. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow, we are God's legacy.
Yes,
wow.
we are.
That's great.
Yes, we are. Yes. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I'm really excited about that. So I want you to, before we close out with purpose and passion, is to tell the viewers something inspiring.
Sure.
Whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's God, whether it's, your next workshop that you plan, whatever you have, how can they find you also on social media and your website?
Sure. So my website is actually ashleynadine.com. But I would say that if you are in a place where you don't know who you are or what you're called to do, my advice would be to seek God wholeheartedly and to know that He is going to answer you. He's going to show you who you are, and He's going to show you what you're meant to do. We're not here to just pay bills and die. We're here because we have passion and we have purpose.
Yes.
And God has destined us to walk that out fully and completely. And the way to do that is by keeping Him first in your heart.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, viewers, I pray that you learned a lot through Miss Nadine's story. It's a testimony, to be honest with you. When we open that Bible and we see the book of John, we have the book of Nadine, we have the book of Raina. So we all have powerful stories. And also just remembering that when we're in a dark place, God is waiting for us to just call His name out. Jesus, I need your help. And so with that to say, this is Raina Carrillo with Purpose and Passion signing out. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient Nasset. Nasset increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.